So hi there, welcome to our recorded webinar. My name's Jessica Wagland. I'm an account executive with N2WS. Today we'll be discussing how N2WS backup and recovery works and diving into the benefits it can bring to a managed service provider. I'm joined by my colleague Catalin Voiko, who is one of our systems engineers with N2WS and holds a huge array of knowledge of the tool and experience. Hi Catalin.
Hi Jess, and hi everyone.
Perfect. So we are also joined by Ankit Joshi, who is a cloud solutions architect with Tesserent. Tesserent, a managed service provider based in Australia, and have been using and partnering with N2WS since 2017. Hi, Ankit.
Hi, Jessica. Hi, everyone.
Perfect. So, Caitlin, I'll just hand it over to you if you wanted to talk to us a bit about N2WS.
Absolutely, Jess. Thank you. So N2WS is the #1 backup and recovery tool in AWS. We have so many customers from all over the world using the tool and getting the most benefits out of it, right? Especially for service providers, because we provide one single pane of glass that offers multi-tenancy, right? First of all, that offers security and safety and governance and reporting and auditing through all the features that we have in the user interface. You can create policies, right, that can vary from minutes to months, even to years. You can have the retention that you want, be it short-term retention, be it long-term retention, depending on the data that you're backing up. And of course, we offer recovery scenarios that will allow you to recover basically any environment with a click of a button. So on top of that, the recovery scenario also works as in dry run. You don't have to actually recover something, but you can test a recovery every now and then. And I know customers want to do that. So yeah, that's us. Of course, on this slide here, you will see kind of the architecture, how it works, how it looks like in your AWS accounts, right? Because as I mentioned, especially for service providers, you will be able to install this in one account, be it your account as a service provider, be it the end customer account, but you can manage all other AWS accounts from within that one single license, one single server, one single pane of glass. The services that we support are listed on the left-hand side there. So as you see, we support the most used services in AWS, EC2, EBS, RDS, VPC, and so on. And of course, this list keeps growing. We have integrations when it comes to monitoring, right? Because our solution is called backup and recovery, and it's not called backup and recovery and monitoring. That would be, I think, a little bit too much. This is why we offer integrations with Datadog, Bokeda, and Splunk, right? Others will come. So if you have anything specific, just get in touch with me and my team, and we can gladly take your feedback. You can use our tool to take your backups, and you will notice that it's a set and forget, right? You set it up once, you don't have to go there every day, and you don't have to manage things every day on the platform. Why? Because we give you a very easy way to add services to the backup policy, and that's with tags, right? We have a feature called scan tag. You set a specific tag for one of your policies or multiple policies, and then when you create those resources in the AWS cloud and you tag them specifically, they will be picked up automatically. On top of that, we give you the one giant recovery button. As I mentioned before, we have recovery scenarios, and we have recoveries of one-to-one, so one server, one recovery. We give you file and folder level recovery, right? Cross-region, cross-account disaster recovery to keep you compliant. And we give you the option to capture and clone the settings of your VPC. In my opinion, the VPC is probably one of the most important resources in the AWS cloud, because without it, without the network, right, you cannot launch instances. Without the security groups containing exactly the ports and the IP address ranges that you want to block or to allow, right, to communicate to other machines, then your machines will not be able to behave the way you wanted them to. With N2WS, you can save a lot of money, first of all, but you can also stay compliant. You can meet any retention period, right? So as I mentioned before, we have flexible scheduling. You can create as many schedules as you want and as different as you want them to be. We have customers taking backups from every 15 minutes to every year, right? So again, this is very flexible and there's no limitation in how many schedules and policies you can create. You will have customers that that have a short retention period for some data and then a longer retention period for some other data. So this is where we come in and help you and your customers by allowing them to store to a cheaper tier, to a cheaper backup tier, like S3, right, or Glacier. There is the feature called Zero EBS, where you take the backup and the backup natively is a snapshot, right? But after you use N2WS to send that backup to S3, there's the option to delete the snapshot automatically. So you don't have a snapshot and the backup in S3, you'll just have the backup in S3. So the cost with that will be at least 50% cheaper than storing it in EBS. With Glacier, of course, the story is a little bit different because it's the cheapest storage available on AWS, and it will probably give you cost savings around 80 to 90% compared again to EBS snapshots. And not to forget, we have a light switch that we call internally, right, for turning off and on your instances on demand, right? So this will save you money for non-critical, non-production workloads in the cloud, because you might not want to have your development environment up and running and consuming and paying for it when your developers are not actually working on it. So maybe overnight, maybe over the weekends, legal holidays, and so on. So we give you that capability in the tool. Even though it has nothing to do with backups and recoveries, we thought it's useful, and this was added due to customer feedback. So this is why we always encourage customers to come with our with their feedback to us, so we can assist and maybe introduce that feature. As I mentioned before, our tool is built for multi-tenancy, so it is designed to help service providers manage multiple customers from one single pane of glass, right? Not only will you be able to add all of your customers in one single pane of glass, but if you have a specific customer that wants to have access to the tool itself to manage the backups themselves, you will be able to create an independent user for them. So they log into the platform, they do not see any backups of any other of your customers, but they can manage their own backups, right? And that's a great way of using the tool. Of course, the user interface is very easy to use, so you don't need extensive training to master the N2WS tool. It is very user-friendly. It's very easy to use, and you'll get used to it after just creating a few policies and schedules yourself. Then we offer, as I mentioned before, disaster recovery, backups to S3. You'll have the complete management of the tool, including reporting and notifications, which are very important, right? But we also offer you the possibility to perform recoveries. And when I say that, you can recover probably one instance within a few minutes. It's actually a few seconds, but I don't want to promise anything. Depends on the size of the EC2 instance that you're recovering, on the data that the EC2 instance is hosting, and so on. But you will see your instance within seconds in AWS, and then it will show as running again in a few seconds, and then the data is loaded with the AWS lazy loading feature on your volumes. Then there is a growth model for pricing designed for MSPs, right? That means you pay only for what you are using. You can grow month over month, and that's fine because it means your business is growing. It means also our business is growing, right? And if, I don't know, for whatever reason in a specific month, your business is decreasing, you will only pay for what you're using in that month. You're not forced to pay a specific minimum or limit, right? Then our tool helps companies keep their GDPR and compliance and regulations, right? Because we offer, again, reporting, auditing, logs, and the DR capability to store the data maybe in a different AWS region or maybe a different AWS account, right? And of course, with the backups to S3 and to Glacier, you have them in a different format as well. Because by default, as I mentioned, the snapshots are the native backups taken, right? And they are the snapshot format. And then when our tool sends the backups to S3, they are not in the snapshot format anymore because they are being transformed into objects. So they're in an object format. So this way you will be compliant if you need to store the data in multiple types, multiple formats. There is an integration with API, and we have customers using CLI API, right, to automate their backups, their recoveries, their account creations, and so on. And of course, again, the integrations with monitoring tools that I mentioned before. So these are standout advantages for MSPs, right? Disaster recovery, offering you the capability to store backups into a different account or a different region or multiple different regions, obviously. The different account that you can store the backups to. As a service provider, if your customer has only one AWS account, you can offer them to store the backups in your disaster recovery account. So you can tell them, hey, we have an account especially for you. We can store your backups there. If your account ever gets hacked, you can restore from our account or in our account until you get up and running with yours again. The reporting suite that I mentioned includes a various range of reports, and they can be scheduled or immediate, right? Scheduled reports, again, is useful for service providers because you want to let your customers know what you're doing for them. So maybe you want to send the backup report every month to your customer, informing them what backups you have taken for their accounts, right? Then we have the immediate reports. That means if a customer asks for something specific, or there's an audit of your company, or you need to figure out what backup was taken on a specific date, then you can pull that report yourself. The single pane of glass, again, makes it very easy to use, makes it very time efficient. So that means that you will save a lot of time and money and resources invested in backup and recoveries by using our tool, right? You'll have everything under one single license, everything under one single server. The multi-tenancy capability that I mentioned before is because you will be able to manage all of your customers or multiple customers in one single instance, in one single server. And then you can also provide users with access to the tool. And there are three types of users that we have. The admin, which is the root user, right, which will be most likely be yourself. Then there is the managed user, which the admin can assist. So you can create a managed user, and you as an admin can create policies for that user, can create backups for that user, schedules, and so on. And there is the independent user. That means that user is on his own. He logs in, he doesn't see anything else from anyone else. He creates his own accounts, he creates his own backup policies, his schedules, and he runs that way. And then there's the cost optimization, which I've mentioned a few times before. It's, first of all, because you will have the possibility to stop and start non-production workloads, EC2 instances and RDS databases on a schedule when you're not running an EC2 instance, you're not paying for the processing, for the compute, right? You will only pay for the storage. And when you're not running an RDS, of course, you will not pay for that as well. And the second side of the cost optimization is we offer the possibility to store to S3 and to Glacier, which are cheaper storage tiers in AWS. Of course, because they are cheaper, they will be slower to recover from. So this is why you don't want to put your daily backups, let's say in S3, if your recovery time objective is something very low, let's say 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, right? Even though you would be able to recover from S3, I assume in less than 1 hour, you never want to get close to that, right? You always want to have the snapshot available, and from a snapshot, you know you'll recover in a few seconds, or maybe let's say 5 minutes, right? But yeah, we offer that possibility. From Glacier, it's the slowest to recover from, but it's also the cheapest. Right? So you'd have to assume 12 to 24 hours recovery from Glacier. And now over to you, Jess.
Perfect. Thank you, Catalin. So as I mentioned earlier, we do have Ankit on the call from Tesserent with us today. So he's going to talk to us a little bit about how they use the N2WS tool and their use case, really. So Catalin, I know you had some questions for Ankit, so I wonder if you wanted to go through those.
Yeah, so Tesserent is one of our MSPs, right? They have over 900 EC2 instances in RDS databases that they are protecting for their customers and 50 AWS accounts. So I wanted to ask Ankit, what are the services that your customers are mostly using in AWS?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Kathleen, for having me. Yeah, so most of our existing customers that we manage, they for N2WS backup and recovery, they are state government-based agencies. And as you say, we've got more than 900 protected resources on AWS. For the majority of them are EC2 instances and RDS servers, and obviously the VPCs for their network within AWS. So our environment is multi-tenant. We do support multiple agencies within the state government. We've got our own CPM instance deployed in a Tesserent AWS tenancy. And we use that to connect to customers' AWS account with the required permissions that needs to be there. So yeah, it's truly multi-tenant environment that we currently manage for all of our customers.
Perfect. And do your customers have both productive and non-productive workloads, as I mentioned before?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, all of our customers have all the different type of environment running. So production, development, non-production, and we manage all of those.
Perfect. That means they can use the capabilities of stop-start that I mentioned before to save money, right, on a scheduled basis.
Yes. For the scheduling, yes, absolutely.
Very good. Do your customers have long retention needs due to compliance, governance, security, or maybe any other internal reason?
Yeah, so most of our customers, they have multiple policies based on the requirement around the data protection. The backup schedule varies from daily to weekly to monthly, but the retention policies are mostly standard across the board, with the daily backups retained for 5 days. Weekly backups are kept for 2 weeks, because most of our customers, they like to rotate the snapshots for every 45 days.
Yeah.
Some of our customers' database backup, they're running with the SQL module, where they're taking backup every 30 minutes, for example, and they keep it anywhere more than like 130 plus days.
Perfect. Sounds good. So that means, again, our solution is a perfect fit, because not only do you have the possibility to create any schedule that you want, right, varying again from 15 minutes to yearly, and you can keep them for as long as you want in the different storage tiers that I mentioned before. So that sounds perfect. I wanted to ask, are your customers using, or are they considering to use, any other cloud provider outside of AWS?
Yes. So apart from the customers that we are already managing the workload for within the AWS, we do have customers that they use Azure as their cloud provider, and they have mostly the virtual machines running within their Azure environment that they would be probably interested in using the N2WS to manage the snapshots.
That is perfect, because since version 4.0, we made our first step into the Azure space, right? You know, in
Right.
AWS, we have been there for 12 years. So we have refined our services and our offerings, right? We support multiple services, but that took us a little bit of time. Now in Azure, we made our first step in version 4.0. Now in version 4.1, we have enhanced existing features over there. And with each release from now on, we plan to add some features that are now available on AWS, right? Like resource control, like recovery scenarios, and so on.
That's great. I think a lot of our customers would be looking forward for that.
Perfect. That is perfect. So what are the features that you think your customers benefit most from N2WS?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, like we provide the multi-tenancy for our customers, and as a service provider, I think the most useful thing we find is when we run a centralized instance in our tenancy and allowing us to securely connect to other customers' account. It really gives us the model to grow and scale and keep adding additional accounts or additional workload. And we can do all this within our controlled environment. And at the end of the day, it's cost effective for us, for our customers. And it provides us more simplified management and all the schedule and policy management that comes with it. So it's more about like simplified management is one of the key benefit. In addition to that, obviously, most of our customers, they use snapshot backups to protect their EC2 instances, the EBS for the quick recovery. And also, as you mentioned earlier, around the capabilities around the resource control, to be able to shut down the servers that they don't need on a scheduled basis, the reporting and the dashboard capabilities as well. We find it very useful.
Perfect. That sounds really good. And do you talk to your potential customers about the ability to import their existing snapshots into S3 and Glacier with N2WS and reduce their monthly bill instantly? You know, in version, I think it was version 4.0 or 3.2.1, where we introduced the AnySnap archiver. Yep. That means any backup that was taken before N2WS, right, with any tool, can be imported to S3 and Glacier, so the customer can save money instantly.
Yep, no, that's true. So most of our customers, as a part of the life cycle management for around the data management, most of our customers are using policies for short-term retention. But we believe that the capabilities around cost saving on the storage cost, especially by archiving the EC2 and RDS, where we can present the snapshot to S3 and Glacier can have a benefit, and it's really ideal for long-term retention. Yeah. So that feature is something we would look to introduce to our customers.
Perfect. That is amazing. Did you have any questions for us, Ankit?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. So mainly around just wanted to get a bit more information around support for Microsoft Azure, and where we can get more information on that.
Absolutely, right. So we have a documentation, which I'm sure my colleague Jessica will be able to share. And I think we have that information also displayed on our website. But if you have ever specific questions from your customers, you can always direct them to us, right? Like in this case, we support in AWS, in the Azure, in the Microsoft Azure space, we support backups of VMs, of virtual machines, right, of disks and MS SQL And we also offer support for disaster recovery. As I mentioned before, Azure is a new cloud for us, but it will take us a little bit of time to implement all of the capabilities we have currently on AWS into Azure. So we plan to add resource control over there to help again schedule, shut down the instances, the VMs and the databases. We plan to introduce recovery scenarios, right? And our ultimate goal is to have the possibility to store from one cloud to another, right, to a different one. It can be Azure, it can be GCP, why not? And then to also restore in that other cloud.
That's perfect. I think that we give true multi-cloud capabilities with AWS and Azure. I think just to be able to manage it from a single centralized portal and a single pane of glass, giving the overview of everything that we manage for all of our customers.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Yeah, and just one last question, Kathleen, about the plans for the future. So, what are the N2WS plans for coming months and a year around capabilities, new capabilities, and?
Yeah, thank you. This is a great question. So we are always taking customer feedback, right? As I mentioned before, because some of the features you see today in our console, in our user interface, are from customer feedback, like the resource control group, right? This was requested by a customer. Again, it doesn't have anything to do with the backup service that we offer, but we thought it's really useful for customers to have that because it's a cost-saving feature, right? And they don't have to log into their AWS to schedule or to manually shut down servers. They can schedule it in our tool. And this will, again, save them time, save them money, save them resources in terms of, human hours, work hours to do that. So we always expect feedback from our customers, and we build our tool around that feedback and feature requests, right? So we are planning to enhance our support for both AWS and Azure, and we plan to add a different other cloud provider. It will most likely be GCP, but we are also looking at other cloud providers like Alibaba, for example.
Great. Thanks, Kathleen.
Absolutely, no problem, Ankit. Thank you. So on this slide, we can see how to identify different opportunities, right? So depending what the customer wants to achieve, as you see, there is multiple ways of offering the tool to your customers, right? There's multiple ways in which you can present it to them as a cost savings or cost optimization tool, or as a way to manage everything centrally, right? To have reporting on their backups, to have notifications if anything doesn't work as expected, to offer them the data protection and availability in the cloud, meaning that if they want the backups for 7 years, let's say, as a random example, they would have the reports showing the backups when they were taken. And also, if they want a 5-day retention, as you mentioned before, Ankit, right, for some customers, they will also see in the reporting when the backup was deleted, right? So the cleanup of the backups is automatically done by the N2WS tool. That means how many policies you create and how many schedules, right, has no effect on the cleanup. You will set a retention of 5 days. The tool will take the 5 days of backups, and on the 6th day, it will simply delete the oldest backup and always have your most recent 5. That means you don't have to spend, again, time to do the cleanup manually or to look for backups that are expired and delete them. On top of that, you can offer it for data sovereignty and control, right? Again, the N2WS instance is your own, or depending if you install it on the end customer account, it will be their own. But the point is, it's not a SaaS solution. It's not hosted by us somewhere and you just access it. No, it's yours. And it's yours to protect as well, right? So that means you can have any security group you want on the N2WS instance. You can have both a public IP address or just a private IP address, right? And this gives you full control over it. This makes it very secure, very compliant. Nobody else has access to your N2WS servers. Data lifecycle and optimization. I think we discussed that already. Our tool offers various ways of storing the backups in different tiers and also gives compliance and cost reduction for each of them by offering, first of all, reporting on the backups and then cost savings from the different features that we have in the tool. And then customers will most likely benefit from all of these three that I mentioned here, right? So they will get a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And all in all, if you offer them the broad set of features that are available in N2WS, the customer will be satisfied and his retention and data protection needs will be fulfilled. So as you can see on this slide, we help to protect over 5,000 AWS accounts, right? Hundreds of thousands of protected instances and 13 plus petabytes of data being backed up with N2WS. Right? These are some of our service providers, as you can see, and we plan to enhance this list, right? And we plan to offer more services within the tool in the near future, right? As I mentioned before, we plan to add a different other cloud provider and eventually have the tool do the backups and the recoveries, but also maybe help customers in the future to migrate some data from one cloud to another, some data from one region to another, or from one account to another, just like that by doing the backups and then performing the recovery. And Ankit, you reminded me of something very important that I haven't mentioned, I think, in today's presentation. That was the backup of the VPC, or the capture and clone of the VPC, right? Because the VPC, as I mentioned, is the network in the cloud. And that's a very important resource, right? So we offer the capability to clone that network from location A to location B, and that can be a different account or a different region or both. And then when you create the resources, when you recover the EC2, the RDS in the other location, it will benefit from the same settings, from the same security group, internet, routing table, internet gateway, and so on, right?
Yeah, thank you, Catalin. So yeah, you could get started by heading over to the AWS Marketplace. We can be purchased directly from there. All of our additions can be found there and deployed. You could also, we do offer a free 30-day trial. So that's a great way to sort of test out the tool as well. And at the moment, we are offering a $100 AWS infrastructure credit for setting up a trial as well. So a great way to sort of test and set up that. So if you'd like to get in touch with us, please do, and we can discuss sort of partnership options or a tailored demonstration. Please email sales@n2ws.com, and we'll also provide a UberEats gift card as well to have a lunch and learn session together. Thanks so much for watching our webinar. If we missed any of your questions, please let us know in the comment section and we'll be in touch. Thanks.